to be the moderator. Of course, if you see, it looks like I'm the moderator tetap, tapi next time I think that aku cuma takut kalau pada bosen gitu loh. But I'll be more than happy to moderate this very interesting event. Ini masker aku boleh dicopot nggak ya? Turun terus boleh nggak sih? Boleh lah ya. We already got our peduli lindungi twice. Twice in this building only. So thank you very much again. So before we start, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Donna Priyadi. I'm the chairman of Bidang 4, which is PR and Communication. Graduated from University of San Francisco. Long time ago, I graduated in '97 with an MBA degree. Very happy to be here with all of you. And Alumnas for me personally is a very good platform for networking and giving back to our community and society. So for those of you who have not joined Alumnas, we are all here, and let's work together to advance our nation. Okay, before I start with the topic, actually I don't really agree with the topic of unlocking the future of business and work, because this is not the future anymore. This is now. It's happening. Everything is happening now. I don't really see this is like is the future anymore. So right? This is because of this pandemic. People are connected to digital world more than ever, and Metaverse is not the future anymore. Later on, I will call both of you chiefs now, because all of us are chiefs, and it will be good if we can, as you are our guests, so you are chiefs also. Chief Daniel and Chief Ichsan, okay? Chief Ichsan will share about the concept of the new office, not future, but I think we call it new, with all this new innovation and technology. And of course, Chief Daniel will share about what we call Metaverse. What kind of world is that? This is very trendy, combining our avatar and virtual reality, and all of those things interconnecting. Why? What? Can we be in other universe? Can we meet everybody in the world and be the actor of our own movie? Like in a video game, but interactive. So this is very interesting. But before that, I would like Chief Ichsan and Chief Daniel to introduce themselves. Starting from you, Chief Ichsan.
Thank you, Chief Donna. Yeah. So very glad to be here. This is my first gig actually with Alumnas. So I'm very happy to be able to see you in person. Yeah. Just a little bit introduction about myself. My name is Ichsan, but a lot of people call me Ichan. Up to you what you want to call me. Ichsan or Ichan is fine. I graduated from State University of New York at Buffalo. I see Buffalo alumni here as well represented. Yeah, I graduated. I took my bachelor's and MBA in the same university. I graduated in '95, and right now I'm a partner with Korn Ferry. Korn Ferry is a management consulting and also an executive search firm that's been around for quite a while. And my career has been sort of mixing between consulting and also a practitioner over the years, almost like half. So I'm glad to share whatever I can in this forum. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chief Ichan. This is the first time I met Chief Ichan, so this is very good networking. Thank you, very nice to meet you. And Chief Daniel, I think I've known for a while now. And one of his initiatives, among so many initiatives of Chief Daniel, that was in Disrupto. I think I participated in the first and second ones as speakers at the time. Very proud to be part of that particular very advanced event in the disruptive world. I'll let you introduce yourself. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Donna. This is the first time I have to call you Chief. So, and it's a pleasure to meet you, Chief Ichsan, and all the other chiefs in this room. So my name is Daniel. I graduated from one of the universities in Germany. So yes, I speak German. I started my career back in 1999 when I was assigned to lead a branding company called Associates. Well, so I stayed there for 10 years. So if you guys witness some of the rebranding in this country, where Batavia logo becoming the new one, I'm so sorry to say this, but we did drop the ship and change the box, the BNI 46. It was all done during my time, but I guess when you be part of the branding process, then you have to be ready for change, right? So I did change myself, and I learned that. So I partnered with my brothers and a lot of younger partners to found this company called WIR, with a focus in augmented reality platform since I think we've been around for 11 years now. So that's a quick introduction about myself. I'm very happy and thank you so much for inviting me here, and I hope I can do signed by the Chief Donor to explain what really Metaverse is. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Daniel. So, this is how Alumnas works. So many chiefs, not many Indians, but So, okay, let's start our discussion with Chief Ichsan. With this all the changes of this current situation, people are working from home or hybrid, or like it or not, people really now into digital and tech and innovation. How do you see the business and the future or the current situation of work going forward?
Okay, thank you, Chief. So yeah, I think when the statement is right in a way, the future is here, right? But I think if you see what's going on right now, and if you look at all the media, that's what's happening out there, there are still many things that are yet to manifest itself in reality. We already see now that companies are basically trying to find their way, right? And we live in a very interesting time because we are in the midst of an industrial revolution, Industry 4.0, but at the same time the pandemic happened, right? So it sort of accelerated and also changed many things in our individual lives, yeah? as an employee, as a businessman, or as a family man, right? And this kind of throws everything in a mix. And companies have to reinvent themselves, basically. They need to find what their shape and what their business would be in the next few years. Because there are many opportunities that companies can take advantage of, right? Some of these technologies are still new to them, right? The Metaverse, I think, is very hot the last couple of months because Facebook becomes Menara. And then you see Nike also is into Meta, and every other seems to be buying something in Metaverse, right? Even before the pandemic, right? The companies are trying to survive the competition because newcomers, they can come from any industry. They can use digital technologies to be more competitive, lower price, lower cost, and they can take the market share. At the same time, the pandemic happened, right? And it forces companies to also manage their workforce remotely, right? I think in the past couple of years, what we're seeing is that companies are learning how to manage the hybrid workforce more effectively. I think the first 2 years, everybody was reacting, and if I talk to a lot of my clients, they're trying to figure out the right formula in this remote work, right? And I think people in companies are still trying to figure that out. And it's still not the same, right? I mean, for a lot of cases, of course, it's all right to work at home and you can do a lot of things at home. But for many of the things that are quite value added, like doing a workshop, right, or having a discussion, developing something, it still requires a lot of face-to-face interaction to be really productive, right? And if you read what Google is saying right now, we also need some face-to-face interaction in some parts of the business in order for them to really innovate, right? So there's this formula that needs to be figured out by companies, how to arrange who can work at home by when, and then who can actually be working, who need to be working in the office. This is to make sure that the business is innovating, but also to create engagement, right? I know I've actually just rejoined Korn Ferry like 3 months ago from Accenture, and joining a new company where they send the laptop to your home, right? But you don't see your co-workers at all. It's kind of weird, right? Because you don't know who you'll be talking to, who you'll be working with, and trying to figure your way into the company. And the culture, the way of doing things is hard. So there's a hybrid work that needs to happen not only for innovation, but also to make sure that the engagement and the culture of the company is still can be maintained. And I think this is still ongoing, as I said. I think Metaverse for sure. What I'm excited about it is that how can I do a better Zoom, right? Because you're so tired looking at a two-dimensional screen and only see the head and the shoulders, right? If you can actually feel like you're sitting next to someone, right, that can actually maybe even push more people to actually work remotely, but doesn't feel like it's remote, right? So I'm actually eager to say that to apply those technologies in that sense. And I think there are other applications in the technology world that can actually impact business. And I think in Indonesia, we are always looking outside to see what's already being done in the US or in Europe. And I think what the challenge is for us to basically each company find its way within this digital transformation, how they can make the business better and survive.
And during your consulting, have you found companies that are reluctant to adjust with the hybrid and the innovation and try to maintain their conservative work, or I know this is inevitable, right? Unavoidable, but have you found companies that are reluctant to really jump into the wagon and try to do this new hybrid with technology and innovation?
Actually, to be honest, I haven't found one. Actually, even when I was was helping government institutions, they also recognize this is a new way of working, right? I mean, because the health and safety of your employees is a no-brainer, right? So that's the first, right? But I think what's a challenge for many companies is that they're not ready. Not ready, number one, in the infrastructure, right? People still have to go to the office because they have to sign things. People have to go to the office because the files are there. People have to go to the office because they can't have any internet access or something. So many things, right? So I've seen that it's more of a limitation that needs to be overcome rather than the resistance of it, right? And then the second portion of that, then the question would be, how do we make it sustainable? This hybrid way of working, I think that still remains to be seen.
Yeah, I think this is, we will not, personally, I think that we will not get back to the old way of work before the pandemic. Yeah, I think people now are really see the benefit, and also can see that hybrid works really well. In one hand, technology, but on the other hand, you meet for discussion and more human value face-to-face meeting. Thank you, and now we go to Chief Daniel. What is this Metaverse work? How can companies, what is the impact to us? How can we, participate in that? And, how this all work? Because I know that, WIR would present like your prototype of Metaverse, right, in the G20 October, right? So that's going to be huge for all of us, and just tell us about this new world.
Okay, thanks, Chief Donna. Allow me to put up some slides because
Yes.
it's going to be easier for me to share with you all about what Metaverse really is. So, by the way, that's Injaz. Injaz is our co-founders and CTO. So he is the tech guy. I'm just doing the talk, right? So thanks, Chief Donna. Just quickly introduce who WIR is, so you will understand the whole journey of an augmented reality company that is established in Indonesia way back in 2009. This is what we do. We believe that the world is changing rapidly. There are things that already disrupted, then and there are a few others that are ongoing under disruption. So Weird is founded 2009. What we do, we just built a AR platform that hopefully will be very stable for Metaverse, right? So these are our client roster. Initially we work a lot with local brands like Cartoon Network, Disney, and so on and so forth. Pharrell Williams in New York. AR booting is done by us. So we really started our journey on AR from global markets. So we say 5-6 years ago, we came back to Jakarta, Indonesia, and started to be able to introduce AR. Honestly speaking, when I started the journey, I thought AR was a conversable object. Only my other partners understand what augmented reality really is. I will explain to you one by one what is the difference between AR, VR, and Metaverse. Right? So these are our achievements. We are 2 years in a row best AR company out of Silicon Valley, awarded by AWE, which is the Oscar of augmented reality. And yes, we are an Indonesian company, a 40 company out of London Stock Exchange, and representing Indonesia twice in World Economic Forum. So we work together. Founders is 5 people. Now we have an operation of 270 people in Jakarta. Okay, so we just recently named as Metaverse company to watch 2022 by Forbes among Facebook. Now it's Meta, Microsoft, Google. Okay, so this is what I want to share first before we jump into this big word called Metaverse, right? So we believe in a future called frameless. What is frameless future? So if you see there's a path of communication style, with underneath is a key technology to bridge that style of communication, right? So as a matter of fact, every day we will see and we will meet content. I mean today, let's assume I meet Chief Donna as content, right? So content is on our daily life, right? So if you want to visit Eiffel Tower, that's also not content. But Eiffel Tower is in Paris, right? So to visit Eiffel Tower, you need to fly to Paris. So that's the vehicle for you to go and witness Eiffel Tower. So that was basic. The first stage, the key technology to witness content is using a transportation back a long time ago. And then there are many people like me back some time ago who were not able to afford flying to Paris. So what I did was I knocked on my neighbor who was able to go to Paris, and he has the handycam, and tape the Eiffel Tower and bring it in a video beta VHS long time ago. For those who understand VHS and beta, it's coming from my generation. And they put this content and display it on the screen called TV. So that's the elevation. Right? At the same time, you can cause the other content part using telephone, right? Now, the TV set at back then, my home, I have to share a bit. The frame is this thick by James. The screen is this small. The frame used to be thicker. Now, the frame is becoming smaller and smaller, and in fact, you hardly see the frame, you only see the screen. This is the first, in our life, you won't escape an interaction with screens. Okay, so up to this point, you will interact with PCs, handphones, and so on and so forth, right? The content is also evolving, it's becoming more clearer. You will feel looking at Eiffel Tower is more real rather than you see the real one. That's the reason why big electronic brands or like Samsung and LG, they are pursuing reality with high definition in their screen. Sometimes, there was a moment they launched a curved TV because they want us to immerse with the content. Ada yang punya TV curve nggak Samsung? It's like sometimes I think myself, what's the point in the curve? And the bigger the screen, the real you will feel the reality of the content, right? My mom used to say to me back a long time ago, jangan nonton TV dekat-dekat. That was my era. Yeah. I didn't move anywhere. I sit down and I obey my mom not to, get closer to the screen. But what happened was, the screen is getting bigger, and they're coming to my eyes, called virtual reality. Now you know what I tell my son these days? He's 12 years old, playing VR all the time. I said to him, don't forget to come back to reality. So it's different advice, right? So what happened next? Content immersing with us. There's another world called cashless. Back then there was no money, and then there's money, and money evolving, becoming credit cards, and e-money, right? So cashless. Frameless is the same. No frameless, and one day, the frame of your phones will be here. I know it sounds weird, but let me show you some demo so you understand what is the Metaverse. Okay, maybe I'll just put a demo quickly. There's Yasha, our international directors, and also the IT team. We are like a boy band because when we present something, we always bring things. So this is the AR component, the best AR. So augmented reality is you see things around you and you put content on top of it. This is our project back in maybe 9 years ago. Yeah, sure, please go ahead. Okay.
I'm going to do a little bit of a magic show here, since they said alumnus, so I can speak like this, right? So we got two different cards. We got this card is a monster, and the other one is zero. So what happens? So there's nothing here. There's no chip or anything. It's a regular printed card. So this could be in any brochure. So what happened is the monster will pop up. So if you're rooting for the monster comes out first. Then see what happens if the card, there's another card is put into the frame, and we will get the two characters fighting each other. And the Space Ranger wins. But you can have the monster win if you like. So it's based on tergantung ordernya, Pak. So this is another example. This is a property company from Malaysia. So this is also an old a project from 2013. So basically, the first feature is the augmented reality, but then it goes into virtual reality. So what you see here is like virtual reality. So as you see, the difference between virtual reality and augmented reality is clear.
Yet, the use of it can be interchangeable and you can just switch at any time. Just like when you wear glasses, right? Like by Daniel just said, once it's reality, but once you're wearing augmented reality glasses, boom, you got augmented reality right in front of your eyes, and sometimes you don't even realize that it's there. All right, this is another example. So this could be like a merchandise. Imagine if you have a brand and you have people wearing your brand, and people will be wearing it. You're gonna enter the era where everybody's walking around with augmented reality glasses, and you see advertisement coming up wherever you go, and it also makes sounds. So it's 20 years ago this is magic, but now we have a new term, it's Metaverse.
Imagining now, Yasha was basically using the phones, right? But the frameless feature, the screen of the phone will be here. That's the reason why Microsoft, Meta, or Google, they are trying really hard to push the AR glasses, not only the VR. When with VR, you are blocked, you cannot go anywhere. It's still very important, but the Metaverse world will be combining only three components. It's AR, VR, and artificial intelligence. There's still a bit misconception on NFT, but I'll come to that a bit later. So, yes, this is maybe an example using of VR glasses. Sanja, maybe you can, so you will be able to meet avatar. You can interact with them. Facebook is trying to build the Metaverse gloves, so you can touch and feel. There's a company in the US building the Metaverse jackets, so you can interact with animations, right? And any one of you could be having the opportunity to have a second identity in Metaverse. Thank you. Okay, maybe there's one last example using this is a HoloLens, the first edition, Chief Donor, from Microsoft. So this is the most, I would say, stable AR glasses. So Surya is using the glasses. Maybe you can show it. Okay. Now it's back to. So Microsoft, there are a few. Let me put a quick update. So the US companies, they're building a very aggressively building around the market. Watching it using the AR glasses or phones, and you can interact with. Kalau enggak, main movie.
Now I can see why your son is stuck with the VR and really don't want to go back to the real.
It's very hard to
It's so fascinating.
Maybe there's one example because Chief Ichsan was mentioning about Zoom AR. We built a platform for making Zoom more exciting. Daddy, can you show me the Zoom platform? Zoom. Yang pakai Zoom? Oh tadi ya? Bisa di layar. Nah ini anggap aja di Zoom kita udah pakai di one of the partners itu cakap.com and Honda Astra. So when you do Zoom supaya nggak boring, you can do like this, right? So you can bring the tiger into the Zoom room. You can show a motorcycle, for instance. Ada motorcycles? Oh. So this
In this case, we won't talk about the work because we are fascinated with all the perks. Yeah. Oh wow.
Jadi that's a bit of AR VR work. Now Metaverse, they only have three components. One is hardware, So the hardware now is phones, AR glasses, VR glasses. The other component is the platform, the software, which is the world. The last part is the content. So there are only three pillars. So this is a new, imagining when you enter Metaverse, there are only three components, right? So hardware, the platform, and content. So content layers is a company like Disney, for instance. They put the Mickey Mouse, the Donald Duck into digital avatar in Metaverse. WRR is building the world, the platform. So similar like when you want to own a real house, the reality is the offline world, you will need certificate hak milik, right? But when you want to own a digital asset, a digital house in Metaverse, then you need to pay via crypto and you will own the NFT as certificate. But you can transact with NFT without entering the Metaverse world. To come to the real world, you need car transportations. To come to Metaverse world, you need AR glasses, VR glasses. So that's maybe how it is. Sorry a bit longer, but there's no other way. I've been running around on the roadshow with investors. This boy band always come with me. Thank you.
So with that, like crypto and NFT, are those things, materials can be transacted and you can really make money out of it, or is in that world only? Can you exchange the world, the two worlds, the metaverse world and the real world?
The sustained Metaverse world in the future will be O2O. Everything that you transact online needs to be also related to offline world. And like any other world country, you need to build. What really matters is you really need to build credibility. Now it's like FOMO, everybody like Metaverse is NFT. By the way, I just bought one, NFT painting. Just want to learn. I mean, there's few other platforms we can use, but now it's still the first very early stage, but in the future, the O2O component will be formed and a Metaverse platform will be able to show credibility and the transaction will be online and offline.
So just say if we are not happy with our life right now, right? Or we, make pretense that we're going to play somebody else that we really want to be, we can do that on this Metaverse. We can live a different life, like parallel universe.
That's
wow.
That's very possible, and that's in fact
It can be dangerous,
the future. Like internet, right? There's always positive side and negative side. It depends on how you want to gear up your things, your own things, right? WIRS is here to make sure we can put up all the possibilities first. That's the reason why. Well, my case, the rest of the guys are building. We are not the hardware players. We are not content players. We are not in NFT. But we work and collab with them, but we built a guideline and corridors for positive impact. And we want to build credible coordination. So that's the reason why we built this production in design. I know people still understand. We really didn't understand what VR was.
See, the future is here, right? It's not the future anymore. Okay, so now, we've heard what Metaverse is. What do you think? Will company adapt to this? And what kind of companies? Is it like traditional companies or tech companies only, or because we've seen tech companies mostly, and how about like construction companies and other kind of companies and financial companies? Do you think this is something that they can adapt?
Yeah, actually, all of these things actually a convergence of different technologies, right? I think in the past years, you things like cloud, right? And then blockchain, all these manifestation of these different convergence of technologies, right? So you can actually deliver the experience in a more rich manner, right? But actually, not only maybe things I think were moving faster in the gaming industry because it was played by a younger audience, and they spend money online all the time. So you need to have a lot of things that are made for the digital world for them. But actually, from the business side, companies have already started trying to create the digital representation of their operations. Right? Some companies they use the VR glasses to train people. So they don't need to basically, if you're working in a store, you don't need to close the store or do your training during off hours. Some also save money because in certain cases you have many stores and then you have people that need to come to the training center to do training, right? Now by virtual reality they can don these glasses, they can recreate the store experience and teach the employees how to pick and store goods, right? In factory settings, they also create digital representation, so it's like a factory but in a digital sense. You can actually play around with different controls in the machine. So these things are already happening, but as I said, I think we're in Indonesia. I think we're a bit behind compared to our neighbors, even in Singapore and Malaysia, right? So we're seeing this in other countries like Alumnas. I think is already training their engineers in how to maintain their equipment using glasses. They know what to do when they have maintenance, and there is already SOPs that are displayed on the screen, so they don't have to look at the manual, and they know how to operate the machines while training. Right? This is a lot of applications actually for businesses, not only for B2C businesses that are maybe more clear in terms of what they can represent themselves in public, but I think for even improving your operations and improving your safety, these things can actually be applied. And the Metaverse is just elevating the level of experience and the immersion of the environment. Is the next generation of that technology.
It's very interesting. Okay, now I'm going to give the floor if you have any question for okay. So yes, this is very interesting topic, and okay, who go first? Silakan, boleh namanya duluan Pak, sekalian kenalan Chief. So we're all chiefs now. Silakan kenalan dulu, and then we want to ask question to either Chief Ichsan or Chief Ichsan or Chief Daniel. Thank you. Silakan.
Yeah, my name is Roman Tahubolan from Ferry. So I'm interested in this topic, unlocking the future of business and work. But I'm more interested in what you said about NFT, because a few weeks ago I saw the news. Somebody named Gozali actually made tons of money out of a selfie or a picture that he took a while ago. So my question is that how does this work? Because when you play stocks, then you see the fundamental, how stocks goes up the price. But then how does NFT work? How do people see value in a photo or in a digital art? So that's my question. Thank you.
Langsung dijawab aja Chief Daniel.
Terima kasih Pak. Coba saya jawab pakai bahasa Indonesia aja supaya gampang. Jadi kalau kita lihat sebetulnya siapa sih yang masuk ke Metaverse? I think that's very key Pak untuk mengerti in dunia ini. It's definitely not me and maybe not all of us here, but is the next generation. Tapi bayangin kalau masuk ke dunia ini seperti kita pada saat awalnya kita melihat YouTube is coming, internet is coming. Metaverse is is sebetulnya interaksi masa depan, the future interaction of content yang akan di-capture oleh next generation. Right? So kalau kita lihat next generation sekarang ini interaksi sama layarnya jauh lebih intens daripada kita. Kalau kita masih sekarang, kalau kita di restoran ketemu bapak ibu sama dua anaknya makan tapi nggak saling melihat, itu nonton YouTube sendiri sebab kontennya mereka udah pakai sendiri. Anak-anak main game, they buy token. Beauty influencer dari China terlihat cantik sekali ketika tapi itunya mati, kelihatan aslinya langsung follow dia. But interaction dengan konten di face di layar itu udah berbeda. Now ditambah lagi sebuah sisi saya psikologi, semua manusia itu punya masalah. This is not coming from me, ya. So everybody knows. Dan mereka masih membutuhkan namanya second chance in life. Nah makanya mereka bikin semua memportray diri kita semua nantinya akan lebih baik dibandingkan realnya. Saya bertahap pelan-pelan. Oh saya nggak akan lakukan itu. No. We've done it. We are doing it now. Look, check on your Instagram, check on your Facebook. Would you put something bad about you? You will always pay. Well, we will always put up gambar yang bagus-bagus. What we eat, how we travel. Semuanya indah, tapi the reality is not seperti yang di Facebook, or di Meta, or di Instagram, right? So what if you live there better than the reality? You feel that owning a Ferrari digital is better than reality. Maybe not for our generation. Tapi when my parents bilang, why you guys are YouTube generation? Yeah, but for him enggak, tapi kita akan ngomong yang sama. So why the next generation into this? Ini menurut saya Pak ya, on Metaverse Pak, ini bisa online. Because they can really own it dibandingkan yang sekarang. Now, and they breaking all the barriers to own things yang dunia konvensional kayak kita nggak bisa dasar, terutama financial side, dunia finansial. Yang semuanya yang kita semuanya centralized, di sana di decentralized. Semuanya dirubah. Contohnya kirim uang PKI Indonesia, kirim uang dari Middle East ke Indonesia $100 sampai di sini $90. What the next generation is a daylight robbery. So they build blockchain, they build crypto. Blockchain decentralized system. Kenyataannya bukan kenapa-napa, sebab ibu di rumah terima uang dari anaknya dari sana dan diambil tuh pakai kripto Pak, sudah itu udah 2-3 tahun yang lalu. So with kejadian seperti itu, kepemilikan di dunia digital itu akan semakin besar Pak. Makanya perlu disertified dan dimiliki. Makanya blockchain menjadi base untuk NFT Pak. Jadi kayak Bapak punya SHM aja. Nah, penggunanya nanti akan besar menurut saya sebab ini is just a future interaction of internet secara simpel ini. Dan kayak Ghazali itu ini baru permulaan Pak. It's just a hype, masih banyak nanti akan ada fraud, hal-hal seperti itu. Makanya dunia metaverse yang baru ini nanti ke depannya akan perlu kredibilitas. Perlu kalau you transact di online di metaverse, something di dunia offline-nya harus terjadi. Misalnya beli mobil Lexus di online, tapi dia dapat token juga untuk dapat reward point sehingga di offline-nya bisa di-exchange something dengan Lexus Show. Itu akan bangun kredibilitas. Sekarang masih belum Pak. Wah, ya untuk Ghazali lah dapat uang segitu kan. Tapi siapa yang beli this people Pak, this situation, because they feel like ini something mereka mesti own, yang mereka uniquely bisa own, meskipun ada sebagian besar beberapa NFT itu digoreng Pak ya. But itu dari overview saya Pak ya, mudah-mudahan bisa menjawab pertanyaan.
Goreng-gorengan offline online ada juga ya, jadi ternyata NFT bisa cuan juga Pak. Oke. Next, silakan Adrian ya, Chief Adrian, go ahead.
Good evening everyone. Hi, my name is Adrian Siregar. I'm a management consultant. When I first entered the room, I thought I'm like the youngest generation here, right? With Chief Alvin from Vice President. So I'm pretty sure I'm like the youngest. But when I saw your deck, your present PowerPoint, Daniel, Chief Daniel, you have emojis, logos as the way of communicate. For Gen Z, I realized I'm not the Gen Z. So I prefer to be positioned together with the baby boomer after seeing that. I don't like emoji, I will never communicate with that, right? And what I learned from your deck, you show that there is a 2.4 billion population on Gen Z. My question, in business context, which I believe Chief Ichsan will be one of the experts in this room, do you then recommend us, Indonesia, as among the youngest population in the world, right? Until 2040, 2050, we are the golden generation. Not even US or China having this advantage. That we now need to invest and focus more towards the Gen Z needs, the other Gonzales, right? So we're just focusing on a lot of Gonzales, or we need to slow this down because most decision makers are still baby boomers. We're not seeing any Gen Z make policies in the next 5 or 10 years. Not even myself as Gen Z, right? Like having this impact in companies and so on and so forth. So what do you think? What's your opinion on this? Thank you.
Jameson, you want to go first?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting question because but the reality is that even though right now even you see country leadership, company leadership are Gen X or maybe boomers, the Gen Zs are actually influencing how we work, right? I've been talking to many clients, right? For example, like it used to be when I started work, right? They interviewed me and said, and they said, the one who gets promotion the fastest is the one who works the most, who stays up late, right? Yeah, and then you don't go home before your boss goes home. That's very, very common during my days, right? But nowadays you have that attitude towards your employees, you're not going to have people, applying to your company, right? I think even in some research that I've collected in Indonesia, I think about 50% is really considering accepting an offer from a company if it doesn't give them a flexible working hours and flexible working arrangement. So that in itself, I think, is a powerful enough force for the world to change. And a lot of the consumers, also not only employees, the consumers are also younger people, right? With these digital assets like the tokens or the digital pictures, whatever. These are young generations that buy this, right? I mean, I also struggle to comprehend this 1 million rupiah transaction by this Gozali guy, right? When I first heard of NFT, I said, oh, if it's a digital asset, can I just copy paste? Something like that. Then I understand there's a blockchain, right, to basically certify. So I think to shortly answer your question is that yes, this world is mixed between the baby boomers and the Gen X and also the Gen Y and Gen Z. But I think many reasons why the development of technology is not only to satisfy certain segment of the population, right? But it's also for the good of the business, for the good of the every one of us, right? I mean, if I can work at home but feel like I'm working in the office using VR glasses, I mean, I always struggle when the past 2 years as a consultant, we used to do a lot of workshops, right? You go to the client side, you set up a workshop, there's a discussion, you do it in flip charts, right? You can have an interactive discussion. It was very hard the last 2 years to do that. But if I can use that same technology while feeling in the same room, getting the same level of interaction, I mean, this is just going to be, a further legitimize the way of working of today to tomorrow.
And what do you say on this person?
Terima kasih Pak, thank you. Tadi udah jawab sama Pak Chief Ichsan. Cuma mungkin nambahin aja, saya juga masih belajar Pak untuk ini. For me dulu, I like to see bagaimana memetakan new technology against the next generation, apapun itu, gimana implementasinya. Tapi belakangan ini saya melihat bahwa consumer itu sudah positioningnya udah jadi consumer Pak. Meaning tidak hanya consume tapi juga produce Pak. As a matter of fact udah mulai dari awal Pak, itu ketika e-commerce sudah mulai booming gitu kan. I mean YouTube is prosumer model kan Pak. Jadi Bapak produce content, you can consume it, tapi orang lain bisa consume it. I mean Gojek is almost similar kan gitu Pak. Bapak punya motor, dulu nggak bisa diapa-apain, cuma pakai sendiri. Sekarang udah bisa diproduce jadi ojol gitu kan Pak. Airbnb juga sama. Nah, the prosumer model ke depan itu mewajibkan sebetulnya banyak sekali di shoemaker and pebisnis sebetulnya kalau di dunia offline ini yang sekarang udah connected to online untuk bisa lebih cepat aja sih. Otherwise, saya lihatnya ini Metaverse ini is just a future interaction tapi dari web 02 ke 03 gitu Pak. Jadi mesti diantisipasi generasi prosumerism. Because kalau prosumerism semakin kencang Pak, they will produce things yang business owners is very little depth gitu, or to produce. I mean, all of a sudden YouTubers becoming one of the top profesi gitu kan misalnya gitu Pak. So it will happen juga dengan apalagi dengan adanya blockchain. Because it's decentralized, everybody can do kapan aja. Apalagi pagi saya datang ke lounge semesta akademi, mereka bilang kalau konten udah husband, udah nggak perlu bingung-bingung lagi, langsung bikin konten langsung naik gitu. Jadi itu aja Pak, ini saya mau tambahin.
Thank you.
Yeah, and in terms of policymakers, for sure, I think our policymakers are a bit behind, but they cannot avoid the pressures of this disruption. So, sooner or later, they just really have to run faster. Yeah, regardless what generation, it's just the way the world is. Ya, nggak Cip Adrian? Setuju nggak Cip Arif as a policymaker? Cip Arif is from Kemendag, the Ministry of Trade, so I think. So, okay, one last question. Okay, Chief John Wei, because Chief Rena already told me that the time is almost up, but okay, one last question from Chief John Wei. Can you give the mic to him?
Thank you for the opportunity. My name is John Wei, no cowboy, not John Wei. Anyway, I think this is all very clear, right? Blockchain, the next internet, consumer will become also a producer, right? Which at the end of the day will be a community type of things, like maybe community-driven economy or whatever, right? And this all really is something that we ought to embrace. Okay, no questions about that. But my few cents of, I would say, worry in a way that, just like you telling your son, when do you draw the line between the virtual reality? Because at the end of the day, we all live our real life as well. So I'm not sure we can answer that right now, but a few cents of worth thinking process of the future, how we're going to manage that within our own family as well too. Thank you.
How can we draw the line between reality and the virtual?
I think it is a concern that I have as well. Yeah, for sure. I mean, just look at today versus like 5 years ago, right? When we all were BBMing one another, right? And yeah, BBM, BlackBerry Messenger. You remember that?
Kevin Vivian.
PIN, what's your PIN number, right? And then we can actually limit. At that time, actually, I have 2 BBs. My friend was very jealous of me because this one BB is for work. The other BB with a different pin is for leisure. So for work, it's always ding, 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 ding. For leisure, I can always regulate. But when the smartphone came about, right, with the right form factor, right, and then with a lot of the contents being, more and more rich, right, it occupies our time. Even for my mother and my father, who is like 80 years old, they can't survive without the WhatsApp to connect with their granddaughters and grandsons, right? And I think it's always a race, right, between how we regulate, I guess, all these advancements, right? I think we have already seen some negative effects even from today, right? Facebook in the early days when I first joined, it's only about you're sending KFC to you're sending like digital icons to people, right? And then became you can actually see news. Now actually there's too much content. And it's also you can arguably say that it's also a source of misinformation as well. And I think what is concerning to me is that when the technology is mature enough so that the metaverse is in the right form factor, yeah? Because I think people are still arguing what is the right way for people can spend time, hours and hours with the device on their head, If you wear the glasses, how many hours can you actually do that, right? But that was BBM, but like when you have the right form factor, and then you can have interoperability between platforms. Let's say if I use from one app to the next, I can still use the same avatar, right? For example. Right now, if you use different apps, you have to log in, log out, like different IDs. But if you have that kind of interoperability and also the right form factor, I think we need to, be self-diligent, basically, in terms of how, I don't know what else to say in that matter, because if it's really, really good, you spend hours and hours in it, right? If you say Instagram, everybody talks about Instagram. If you can actually be inside on Instagram and then, look at pictures like this, it's much better than just looking at the side. People will spend hours in that. So, but I think it's the same issue now as it is tomorrow. So I think it's how we actually, self-regulate ourselves and also our family. Yeah, that's I think my 2 cents on it.
Yeah. What do you say, Daniel?
Almost similar.
Self-control.
Self-control. So yeah, it's like similar things when the first time the world knows this word called internet. There's always positive side, negative side. So pendidikan nilai-nilai is very key. Of course, yang hal kedua yang penting mungkin juga government, but it has to monitor this, put a regulation, a certain corridors. Like China, for instance, mereka di block semua kan nggak bisa Google segala macam. Nah untuk Metaverse, Pak John Wei, banyak negara udah mulai launch their own official Metaverse untuk protecting the data. Contohnya Seoul bilang the city Seoul that build official Seoul. China, Malta, Indonesia, hopefully will launch it di G20. Tapi semuanya it's all di monitor gitu kan. Tapi yang paling penting yang Chief bilang is all about self control, putting families values. Kalau nggak bisa lagi nggak ada lagi gitu kan. Itu mungkin jawaban saya. Kalau enggak ya gimana susah gitu.
Okay, thank you very much. So sorry that the time is up, but hopefully Chief Daniel and Chief Ichsan will stay longer. So if you still have questions, you can approach them directly. So this has been a very eye-opening session. What do you think, guys? For me, when I grew up with Star Trek, we saw that Trekkie, Bimbi Scotty, and then Star Wars, right? I mean, it happened. It's happening now. Everything that we saw in the movie, setiap hari Minggu dulu ya di TVRI itu, ternyata kejadian sekarang ya. I think it's getting closer to us, and I think myself, I still feel lucky that I'm experiencing this. Even though a lot of things that I don't understand, but you can always ask Chief Daniel here. But this is a very eye-opener, and like we discussed, the future is here now, and you like it or not, we just have to adapt to it. Yeah, and again, self-control, value within ourselves and our family, it's still here to stay. So thank you very much, everyone, for coming.